So I present to you Rob.
Hello.
Rob Townsend.
Hello.
Rob, can you tell us who you are and how you got into photography, please?
Yes, I'm Rob Townsend. I'm originally from England, but I now live in the south of France. I started studying photography properly when I was about 40, and I did a degree in photography, in fine art photography, as a distance learning degree in the UK. I spent about 7 or 8 years doing that, and now I just photograph for my own pleasure.
It's pretty cool. Well, I read your thesis, which is called Remembering Forgetting. I love the title, and I know that the thesis deals with the relationship between photography and memory, right? So
yes. I found myself very interested in how memory and photography relate to each other and work together, partly because I was reaching middle age and I started to get a little bit more forgetful myself, not in a dangerously degenerative way, but just things like forgetting where I put my glasses or why did I go into the kitchen, and I was interested in how memory deteriorates over time and how that relates to how people use photography. And kind of developed a theory that the use of photography in the digital age might actually be making human memory a little bit worse than it used to be, which is a difficult thing to prove, but I enjoyed researching it and finding examples and looking into how those relationships between photography and memory are changing over the last 10-20 years.
So at one point you say memories are based on or augmented by photographs. We need to be aware that the camera is not always a reliable narrator. Why is that?
I think the camera's never been a reliable narrator. It's probably worse, more complex now with digital photography, but there's always been an assumption that photographs are true, but actually a photograph is very selective. When you're taking a photograph, you choose a very selective frame. You ignore what's left and right of the frame, above and below, behind you. So if there's, in three-dimensional life, if there are 6 perpendicular planes of existence, a photograph only ever captures one of those 6, which makes it, I think, never wholly realistic or reliable. It's partial. And that's even before you get into things like manipulating a photograph, making it more idealized, making the sky bluer, making the skin smoother. I think photographs have got an impression of being realistic and accurate and true, but I don't think that's ever really been the case when you think about it.
So then obviously the next question must be, what do you think about artificial intelligence and what is going on now, what is starting now?
That's a really good question, actually. I think it's getting much more complex now in terms of how artificial intelligence can create images, photorealistic images. I think it was already getting a little bit concerning when photography was being affected by the ability of what's called computational photography to enhance photos that had been taken. So idealization is kind of automatic now. The software in digital cameras, and particularly in smartphones, will take an image that is more idealized than the photograph you actually took. It will work out what color the sky should have been, for example. But when artificial intelligence moves into creating photorealistic images, that is really worrying, because they're not really photographs. They're actually graphic illustrations that resemble photographs. So I don't mind that artificial intelligence can be used to improve photography. I don't want it to replace photography.
I think pretty soon we don't even need a camera anymore, don't you think?
Possibly for certain kinds of photography. For example, illustrations. Some magazine covers have been created without any original photography at all. You type a prompt into an AI image generator and it can produce something to your specification. But I just think it's really important to realise that that isn't a photograph. It's a facsimile of a photograph of something that never existed. So I do think that crosses the line.
Yeah, I agree. So I would like to get back to your work. I have seen your wonderful monthly designs that you have been making.
Yeah.
So will you continue to do that? Do you want to tell us what that exactly was?
So that was a little challenge I gave myself. I like to give myself a photographic challenge each year, and for last year I decided to produce a little printed zine once a month of photos that I'd taken during that month. The subject of the photos, it wasn't anything too deep or meaningful. It was mostly things I'd observed out in public, in the street. It was small observations of light and colour and shape, and but it gave me a reason to go out and continually take photographs, and I really like the fact that a photograph ends up as a physical artifact. It ends up printed, and it does kind of relate to my thoughts on photography and memory, in that most digital photography only ever exists as lines of code that get displayed now and again, but I really like having something tangible that you can keep hold, art that you can actually hold in a very small way. I mean, they're literally 1/8 the size of a sheet of A4 paper, but it gives you something tangible to remember what you did that month. It's kind of a visual diary for each month of 2022. And I'm not continuing it because it was a year-long project. I might do something in a similar format, but not exactly that. That was last year's resolution.
Okay, well, so you didn't make up your mind yet what your new project is, or do you have something in mind already?
I do, but this year I'm actually putting it in the hands of other people, because I've decided to follow an internet challenge, 52 frames, which is where somebody else gives you a brief every week. For the last few years I've done the projects that I wanted to do, but you end up taking the same kind of photos and using the same kind of techniques, not really learning anything new. This year I want to push myself out of the comfort zone, and I want to do what some random person running a website tells me to do every week. And the first couple have been fine, but next week is take a portrait of a stranger in the street, which is something I'm not looking forward to, but I wanted to challenge myself. So this year I'm doing 52 challenges, and I don't know what most of them are yet.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. Well, thank you very much, Rob. And good luck with your new project then, taking portraits of strangers.
Just the one.